In the days before the technological advances that we now all take for granted, Kentucky's mountainous terrain made it a challenge to get out an informative or educational message to the masses. One of the earliest pioneers of that, public radio. And as Amber Philpott tells us, after 75 years, WUKY is still at the top of the charts.
Today, the airwaves are filled with programming of every variety, but at the dawn of broadcasting, Kentucky began a trend that is now a staple of communities around the nation: public radio. WUKY traces its roots back when turning a dial was the new way to connect to your neighbors.
Radio at UK actually goes back to the 1920s, and the idea was to have a network of stations all across eastern Kentucky. They started with one in Beattyville, Kentucky, and it became the first university-licensed non-commercial radio station in the country. Around 1945, it moved here to Lexington. Since then, we've gone on to continue our news tradition. We continue to present folk music, the rock and roots music that we play today. It's a reflection of our heritage and Kentucky's heritage over the last 75 years.
WUKY's attention to community heritage is evident in stories that focus on Lexington in particular, a variety of news coverage that's often unique to public radio.
A few years ago, we made a conscious decision that we were going to be what we would call in the business hyper-local. We were going to cover Lexington like no one had covered Lexington before. Lexington is the second largest city in the state. It deserves coverage in ways that no other radio station can do that. We have the resources to do that, and other news outlets are cutting or gutting their news departments. We made a conscious decision to invest in those departments and increase the coverage.
With its dedication to Lexington, it seems only appropriate that the future course of WUKY would be set in place by the donation of a new building by a community member and avid listener.
We are very excited about our new building. It's a recording studio that was built around 2002, 2003, but the studio eventually went out of business. The property was purchased by Ann Bacus at the Kentucky Eagle distributorship out there. It's adjacent to her property, and she wants the property around it, but she didn't have a use for the recording studio. So she elected to donate it to the University of Kentucky. We really want the new WUKY Studios to be a public facility that's accessible to everyone.
Of course, this is not a new sentiment. From its beginning, 75 years ago, this radio station has been a place for Kentuckians to tell their story.
When I look back at the history of the station, in 1940, when WBKY went on the air in Beattyville, the community embraced that radio station. People from all over Lee County came to be on the air, to sing, to preach, to tell stories, to give newscasts. It was really a community radio station back then. And that's the spirit that we still have today here at WUKY.
For Keeneland Magazine, I'm Amber Philpott.